I would like to introduce you to a medium that may be new to you. They're called pan pastels. Pan pastels are a pigment-rich pastel that comes in a little pan similar to an eyeshadow. These are artist-grade materials that are often used with traditional stick pastels. You can purchase them at any art store or place that sells professional art mediums. I've purchased the majority of my collection through Dick Blick, where they retail for about $6 each, which is quite a value when you consider how little is used for each project. You can purchase them in sets or individually, or in stacks, which is fun. They also come in a palette. Most of mine were purchased to color my paper flowers, which is why they're in my craft room. Today I'm going to use the pan pastels to enhance the look of my die cuts. This is the first video in a series of brief videos showing you ways to make your die cuts unique. I'll be working with the Berries and Blossoms die set from Hip Kit Club. I've already cut all my pieces from cardstock and pattern paper in my scrap box. I've tried to stick with color palettes that are very similar so that way when they're grouped together, they'll look very organic, which is really what we want when we're making something that looks from nature. Here we are starting to color our die cuts. Now, here I'm using a brush, which I want you to see provides a very, very soft wash of color. You can really barely see it. You can apply the pan pastels with your brush, your fingers. They have these little applicators that look like makeup smudges you can use. But here's my favorite. I like to use the Q-tip or cotton swab. I find that it's economical and I can get it where I want it to go. Now here I'm adding a little bit of yellow. You can see I want it to be a little organic, so I want it to go around, but I also want it to be a little, symmetrical, so I'm adding some more there. The colors layer beautifully. There we go. That makes me happy. Here are the strawberries. The strawberries come individually, and then you go ahead and die cut them in whatever papers you want, but there isn't a back to them, and I wanted a back. I wanted to see those little seeds. So I went ahead and glued them to a piece of yellow, and then I'm cutting around. Now notice the angle that I'm cutting these at. So I don't want you to be able to see the yellow from the top or from the sides. So when you cut it at an angle like that, it makes it so it just looks good. Give it a try. Now that my center's the way I want them, my strawberries are cut, I'm going to switch to ink. Why? Because they're going to be used in a swath. Pan pastels, if not used with a fixative, can be a bit messy. Small amounts, like those used in the center of the flowers, are going to be fine. But when people are handling them, I don't want them to get a chalky residue on their fingers. I mean, if you were to get one and your fingers got all dirty, what would you think? So anyway, I'm using my Altenew inks, which I absolutely love, and I'm using my Catherine Pooler brushes, which I also love. I find it easy to apply the color with the brush. I have arthritis, and this seems to be the most comfortable for me. I'm applying the color to only half of the strawberry. And the reason I'm doing this, and I'm doing it with all of the strawberries, regardless of their original color, is because then you can see that little bit of shadow. It also makes it look very organic. And that's really what we're going here for. This, I believe, is coral berry, and I'm going to do the leaves with forest fern, two colors that are used so often, I purchased the reinkers. Here we go with the leaves. Now, what I really, really like about this specific die cut is that the ink tends to settle in the little grooves there, and so it makes the veins actually stick out. What more can you ask for? See there? It almost looks as if they're drawn in, but they're not. I'm applying the ink at only the base of the leaf, so that way we get a nice color variation throughout the leaf without a harsh line. The paper I'm using, like I said, came from my scrap box. Some of it's cardstock. I believe that those right there are from Echo Park. Echo Park does a nice job of making sure that all their colors coordinate in their cardstock. There we go. Now we're going to go ahead and assemble the leaves. I'm using Barely Art Glue to attach the leaves together. The stem goes on the berry. Then I'm going to combine them. So at this point, I'm trying to decide, do I want groups of 2 or groups of 3? I did both. Usually our eye wants to see things in groups of 3, but also keep in mind that these are going to be used on a project where I might add the third separate from these two, for instance, in a scrapbook layout, as an embellishment on a card. That's what I'm going to do. I'm almost done here. I'm going to trim this up, get it going, make it look neat. And I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please consider giving it a like, subscribing. I am planning on making more of these brief videos in a series of enhancing your die cuts, because it just makes things so much fun. Here we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and add the leaf. I'm only going to add some glue to the bottom. I don't like it when glue sticks out everywhere. And I'm going to hold it there for just a second. When using such a small amount, it adheres pretty darn fast. I'm Michelle Zarel. Thank you for joining me in my video today. And I hope, again, that you will like and subscribe. Have a super crafty day and make something fun.